Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town Board Work Session of Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. Can I have a motion to open the work session?
I move to open the work session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are going to start off hearing about tree pruning. I know Con Ed needs to do some pruning of trees, and we've asked them to come to speak about it. It is on the west end of town, so we want them to come speak about it to let us know what exactly they'll be doing so residents can be aware.
Yes, Lisa, we have Jamie Jones, I think, from Asplundh, the tree contracting company for Con Ed, and I believe they're on
Mute.
on mute, but they're connecting remotely. There we go, Jamie.
Jamie, we can't see you.
Or hear you. Or hear you.
Or hear you.
It's not there.
All right, well,
No, only if it's us.
But they
Maybe
don't hear
ask if Bart can speak for a second, because I tested
Yeah,
his audio.
Bart, can you say hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Audio works.
All right, thanks.
That way.
Jamie, try speaking again. Jamie? Nope. All right, while we are waiting with some technical difficulties, why don't we move on to some of the other work session items? It's not that much.
Sure, there's not a lot tonight. I'll just go over a few of the administrative items. First, we have the payment of claims and responding to a couple of requests from the board members earlier, just to give an explanation, as our payment of claims is about $3.6 million. It's a little bit higher than it normally is. And the reason for that this time around is that we actually, in April, we collected the tax levies for the Millwood and the Newcastle fire districts. Those are separate budgets that each of those districts vote on and approve. The town collects the tax levy similar to what we do for the county and the school districts. We just happen to remit the county and school district monies via wire transfer, so you don't see those on the payment of claims. These two payments to the fire districts were made via check, so that's why you see it on the payment of claims. So those combined to about 3.5 million, so most of this check run.
Thanks, Rob.
The next one, we have authorization to accept CHIPS, Pave New York, and EWR funds for 2022 and 2023. As we have done in the past, this year our total is about $479,000. That's actually $134,000 more than we have budgeted. So we tend to budget conservatively. There's an amount we expect every year, and the state has in the past typically come up with more funds for this, and this year is no different. So we've got about $134,000 more than we budgeted, and we'll put that right back into the road paving. You know, we discussed that, I think, a week or so ago at one of the other meetings, and that's what we have done in the past, and we may or may not decide to allocate fund balance towards that to increase our road paving for the year as well. Authorization to accept the service agreement for the disinfection system and the ozone generators. That's just an annual maintenance fee. It's $12,777. Authorization to accept the ozone upgrade. That's the refurbishing of our primary disinfection system at the water treatment plant. I think, Bart, we have a 3-year schedule for that. This is the first of 3 years. This is $57,000, and I think we'll see that same or similar amount each of the next 2 years. Is that correct, Bart?
That's correct. This is going to be the first of 3 that need to be done.
And we talked, these ozone generators are about 12 years old, and this maintenance is expected at around the 10-year point. So we're close to being on schedule there.
And they're budgeted.
Those are budgeted in the operating budget, correct. Next is the resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 trucks from Navistar Inc. These are medium-duty dump trucks. Total cost is $212,000. And Bart, I think these we have anticipated in the capital projects, correct?
These will be funded from the vehicle line of the water budget.
They will, okay. So
Yeah.
that's also from the operating budget then, okay.
Right, yeah, we're trying to get pricing for a large dump truck, and that would be in the capital budget for highway.
We're asking for a resolution to reject all bids received for the rental of a porta bathroom for our summer camp. When we went out to bid, we actually only got a single bid, and that was higher than we expected. A couple of companies we had anticipated bidding did not, and we actually called and got quotes to see why they didn't bid, and there were a variety of reasons, but in any case, we got lower quotes than the one bid that we got, so we're asking to reject that bid, and we will then accept the lowest quote that we got out of those three. We have the authorization to use town property for the Girl Scouts for their cookie sale, and the authorization to approve the school resource officer agreement for the next 3 years.
Great.
Thank you.
And Jamie is there, he can hear us, but I don't know if you wanna try again, text with him.
We are, now that we're done with this, did anyone first have any questions on any of the administrative items?
Just one question from a procedural, legal perspective, Ed. When we don't have a satisfactory bid, we're permitted to then negotiate outside of that bid, or do we have to rebid?
This was a bit of an unusual situation because after the bids went out and the one bid came in and it looked high and we diligenced it, we learned that the amount of the Porta John restroom was gonna come in under the threshold for public bidding.
Got it, okay.
And we shifted gears and went to RFPs, and by that process got to the lowest responsible vendor.
Otherwise, we would go rebid.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted clarity, thank you.
Similar to what we did with Santa Pro last summer when they were the only
Right,
bidder
right,
and we
right.
rejected it and went back out.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Jamie Jones, are you there?
I think he's trying. I see the mute.
Yeah, I
Up
see
on
it
and
on
off.
muting. We cannot hear you. Might you wanna try dialing in on your phone?
Then I try to email the phone number.
He can clearly hear us because he keeps turning off the mute when we.
Yeah, he
Ask him to
texted
speak,
me that he
so-
can hear us.
Just so you can see if you can have it. Might not understand.
It must just be his speakers on his computer are not working. All right, well, how are you all today? Thank you for joining us.
Actually, Stuart brought something up a minute ago, it was, he's asking Stuart was wondering
Do
if
you wanna come up,
Con
just, do
Ed has to have,
you wanna come up and be on the?
I'll do it if you want me to.
Oh, Jamie Jones is connecting to audio, so maybe if that's about the trees, you wanna hold the question?
but it might be related to more of a town thing related.
Oh, he's here. Jamie, go.
Hi, can you guys hear me now?
There we go.
Yes, we can.
Hi, how you guys doing today? Sorry about that. Is the speaker on my work computer must be broken.
Okay, we can't see you, but we can hear you.
Oh, he spoke too soon.
Could hear you.
Well, we
You
could
spoke too
hear you a
soon.
second ago.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Now we hear you.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So we're looking to take some danger trees on Inningwood between Vales and Inningwood Place. We had our permission guy go out and look for hazardous trees that were in full or they were full dead or in the process of dying. So what we were looking for is mainly the emerald ash borer, so ash trees, and there's a new type of fungus that's affecting a lot of maples, where it will block the leaves so they can't absorb the nutrients, and they end up decaying from that. And the oaks with their basic root rot, and you got the storm damage from prior and winter damage and all that stuff. So we're just looking for the danger trees. He looks at them, he talks to the homeowner or the town, gets permission, and then Con Ed sends out their certified arborists to take a look and make sure the trees are good to go and good to take out, and we're not taking healthy trees.
So,
And Jamie, just, I'm sorry, one quick question. So a danger tree, that's a tree that if it falls will take down your wires, is that how that's defined?
and as I understand it, all the trees at issue here are on private property and you've received consent from each property
Yeah.
owner?
Yes, all written consent. On a Con Ed, they give us these little cards with for approval, so they have to have the type of tree, the size, location, and the homeowner's signature. And this way they give us permission to take them out if for legal reasons.
And how many?
There are a couple that are in the town right away, and then
Yeah.
There are.
Dennis Borelli, our environmental coordinator, looks at those as well.
Are those the ones on Inningwood or are those the ones on Taconic?
There's one on Inningwood Place, and then there's a couple on Taconic on the corner of Inningwood.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So,
how many trees are we talking about?
I believe it's 15 on Inningwood, and then the 3 on Taconic would make 18.
Jamie, curious, do you do anything proactive with the emerald ash borer? Do you wait till it reaches a certain point, or do you try to proactively remove those trees?
We try to. It's hard to tell where they're gonna attack, and then once they attack, it just moves so quick. So within like a year, the tree could be alive, and then the next thing you know, it's dead. So it's hard to tell where they start, because they really start at the base and then work up. So it's hard to tell where they're coming in. But once they do come in, and we assess that it is that, we take the proper measures to get rid of the wood and the chips.
So you take special precaution with
Yeah.
these? Oh, okay, thank you.
All right, anyone on the town board have any other questions? How about from the audience here?
My name is Stuart Faust. I'm on the Millwood West End Advisory Board, and I live on Vales Lane. A question about the removal of these diseased trees and the ones with the ash borer. When I walk around the streets of my neighborhood, Inningwood, Taconic, and Vales, Con Ed seems to leave the stump like a foot up or 2 feet up. So you're not removing, everything from the tree. Is that a problem with the presence of these diseases in ash borer?
Sometimes they have from when the tree was planted, they put metal in to have it so it doesn't like anchored sort of, so it doesn't blow over and break. So we take it as low as we can, where it's not going to cause any damage to the tools or break off and cause damage to or injure the people, I should say. And then the homeowner would have to come out and get a stump grinder and stump grind it.
Okay, the other question I have, I've seen the number of trees you've taken down in our neighborhood already, and you're taking 18 more down. Does Con Ed have any program of planting trees or contributing to the Newcastle Tree Fund to replace plants?
I believe they actually I think it was 2 weeks ago for natural or for the Arbor Day, they were giving out a bunch of trees, a bunch of beautiful blue spruces, spruce trees, and all that. They were gave out quite a bit of trees.
Where did you give out those trees? Cause I don't think we received any trees.
And I'm on Vales Lane where you took down trees. I didn't get any notice of a place to get trees.
That I'm not 100% sure for that. You would have to talk to Con Ed, but I know my forester, the certified arborist, in certain towns giving them out and all that. So I'm not 100% sure on where they
Should get
I
in
think
line.
the answer is a no.
Okay.
And I think we discussed, and Lisa, maybe, I think we did we not discuss a couple of years ago about having Con Edison contribute to the tree fund when they remove a tree? And was there an impediment? Does that ring a bell? Because it rings
We
a bell.
did talk about that.
Maybe Nick, maybe it was with Nick, maybe,
I think it was with Nick, it doesn't ring a bell for me.
maybe you can speak to Nick to see, thank you.
Well, anecdotally, I'll just mention I also do volunteer work at the Teatown Nature Preserve, and when Con Ed came and cleared out areas for their overhead wires, they planted little pine trees all over the place. So I don't know if that was a deal they made with the Nature Preserve, but we ought to look into that. It seems it was considering the number of trees being taken down.
We
Thank you.
should.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's a good
So
idea.
Jamie, your company is retained by Con Ed to remove the trees, correct?
Yeah, correct.
But not to plant new trees?
Yes.
So if we want new trees, we need to speak with Con Ed.
Yes.
Do you have the appropriate contact person there with whom we can speak?
For that, I can talk to my forester and I can get that number again and shoot it over to you tomorrow in an email. Or I can have, I think Bert has your number. Did he end up reaching out to you or?
I mean, I know he spoke to Jill, so if he wants to send an email to Jill Shapiro and she'll get that to us.
No problem. I'll have him do that. I'll actually, once I get off the phone, I'll send him an email.
Come to the microphone. Sorry, you know, because people from home can't hear the questions, that's why.
Does the town have its own arborist? I hate to say it, but I'm from, I like to think I'm from Missouri, so you need to show me that there's a need here. And I was wondering if the town independently can determine that these are trees that need to go.
So Dennis Corelli, the environmental coordinator, you heard Bart say that the trees that are on the right of way, in the town's right of way, Dennis has inspected those and has confirmed or approved their removal. Bart, I don't think he does the same function on private property, correct?
Correct. If they want him to look at those, he will. But speaking with Dennis today, he told me that he's looked at a number of these assessments and to date he has not disagreed with one of them.
I thought if a dangerous tree wanted to be taken down on private property, you still needed the town to come, you needed Dennis and previously Steve Coleman to come and look. No, that's not right?
Not if it's in decline, these trees are all dead or in decline, so in that case, Dennis approves it automatically.
I don't think it's a permit situation where someone's asking to remove their tree where they need to get a permit and they need approval from Dennis.
Right, but I guess, what Jeremy's saying, which I understand, and I don't know the answer to this, but is if there's no permit, then we're just assuming that Con Ed's analysis is correct. And Dennis doesn't, as a town staff member, validate that as he would with the town right of way. So the question would be, if a resident or Con Ed said, hey, there's wires here, we're gonna take this tree down, and the tree's perfectly healthy, if the person wanted to take the tree down just for aesthetic reasons, they would have to get a permit. In this case, there would be no town check on that, I guess. Now that maybe is a little paranoid, Con Ed's probably not in the business of going around and taking trees down for people that are healthy, but you could easily see a scenario where a healthy tree is annoying to Con Ed and they go to the resident and they say, hey, let us take this down. So that would be a gap, I guess, in the check.
Well, I wonder if the resident is concerned enough if they can ask the town
They can.
to take a look, but that would be up to the resident.
I've actually talked to Dennis about tree removal in our area. And one of the things we found is that you're required to have a permit, but if you don't have a permit, there is no penalty whatsoever. So people are taking trees down that seem to be for aesthetic reasons.
That's a separate issue, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ed, if you take a tree down and you didn't have a permit and you're caught, there's a replacement policy.
Yes.
So
There's no consequence.
right, so there is a consequence, even if you don't have a permit. The question is, if you're, are you gonna get caught? But that's, you roll the dice, you roll the dice.
All right, any other questions?
No.
Yes, there's another one.
Hi, Nicole Richey, 39 Overlook. There was a situation a few years ago on, just to address your point, on Spring Valley Road, when Con Edison did what they call a hardening, and they took down many trees. And I don't think anybody was asked or any permission, and the result of that was a big hoopla and big meeting, and so I understand that's not what's happening here, but they have been known to do that. And the other thing is just that, Jamie, I think you're coming to my neighborhood tomorrow to look at a tree that's leaning against a couple of wires.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Do you know what time you're coming?
I got a meeting with another homeowner about some trees around 7:30, so I wanna say about like 8:30.
Okay,
Or
thank you.
Hey, glad we could help. I will say, Nicole, as a result of that storm hardening that happened a few years ago, we now ask Con Ed or their their assignee to come in before they're going to remove a significant number of trees to let the town board know what's happening, so we can let residents know and have the opportunity to speak. So this meeting tonight was a direct result of that.
Right, thanks.
But in my understanding, this is not storm hardening, this is removal of some diseased trees.
Yeah, and I would think that when we speak to them about replacement, we could, make reference to that storm hardening and the number of trees that were removed and put that all in context.
Mhm.
Do we know how many trees they removed since that time? Has anyone taken a tally?
We could get that. It was a lot
You
at
would
that
have
time.
the ballpark, okay, yeah.
All right. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. And Millwood West End Advisory Board members, I'm gonna put this in the newsletter, but if you wanna reach out to the neighborhoods and just let them know. I know most are on private property, so obviously the homeowners are aware of this, but just to know that you were here and asked those questions and are aware of this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Jill Shapiro said that a code red was sent out.
Yes, I asked her to send out a code red to everybody.
Thank you.
Okay,
you.
thank you so
you.
much.
There was a code red sent
Yeah.
out. It was a targeted code red though, so the whole town didn't get it, just the affected
Just
areas.
those neighborhoods, yep. All right, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Okay, any more questions for Jamie? All right, well, thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you guys. That's all.
Thank you.
If you
So,
have more questions, you can reach me through the email or he's got my phone number.
Great.
Okay.
More than happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Thanks so much.
all right, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Have a good day.
You too.
You too. All right, I have a tickle in my throat. I think that's all for our work session. Okay, so can I have a motion to adjourn the work session and, excuse me, and open the town board meeting?
I move to adjourn the work session and open
Second.
the town board meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, welcome again to our now town board meeting of Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. We are actually almost right on time. So, are there any announcements before I read some proclamations?
No announcements.
Okay, perfect. So last week, we unveiled Jared Science, who is a student in town who suffers from 29, I think, food allergies, approached the board about installing signs in the playgrounds that brought awareness to food allergies and about declaring May 8th to 14th as Food Allergy Awareness Week. So last week, we actually unveiled some of those signs, which you should see at all the playgrounds now, that just caution people to wash their hands and to make sure that they're aware of food allergies and that other children merely touching something, let's say with someone with a peanut allergy, merely touching a swing that has peanut residue on it can cause significant impacts. So tonight, we are going to formally read into the town board meeting minutes the proclamation that we said last week. So I'm going to read that here. We have, whereas Food Allergy Awareness Week was established as a national week of encouraging food allergy awareness and supporting those who are impacted by food allergies and anaphylaxis. And whereas a food allergy is an immune system response to a food the body mistakenly believes is harmful. When a person with a food allergy eats the food, his or her immune system releases massive amounts of chemicals, including histamine, that trigger a cascade of symptoms that can affect the respiratory system, the gastrointestinal tract, the skin, and/or cardiovascular system. And whereas food allergies affect 32 million Americans approximately, including 6 million children. And whereas according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the prevalence of food allergies is significantly increasing among children under the age of 18. And whereas 9 foods account for 90% of all food allergy reactions, and those are peanuts, tree nuts, milk, egg, wheat, soy, fish, shellfish, and sesame. Whereas there's no cure for food allergies, so strict avoidance is the only way to prevent an allergic reaction. And whereas anaphylaxis is a serious allergic reaction that comes on quickly and has the potential to become life-threatening. And whereas each year an estimated 3.3 million Americans require emergency room treatment for symptoms of a serious allergic reaction to food. Reactions typically occur when an individual unknowingly eats a food containing an ingredient to which they are allergic. And whereas emergency medical treatment for severe allergic reactions to food has increased by 377% in only a decade. And whereas managing a food allergy on a daily basis involves constant vigilance and even trace amounts of an allergen can trigger an allergic reaction in some individuals. Now, therefore, the Town Board of the Town of Newcastle does hereby proclaim May 8th to 14th, 2022 as Food Allergy Awareness Week in the town of Newcastle, New York, and encourages the residents of Newcastle to increase their understanding and awareness of food allergies and anaphylaxis. So thank you to the Town Board and to our rec department, our rec commission, and Jill Shapiro for helping us to arrange to get all these signs and to adopt and look at food allergies as an important issue affecting our children and residents. All right, next we have an Asian American Pacific Heritage Month proclamation because May is Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So I have a proclamation to read for that as well. Whereas the town of Newcastle takes pride in joining Americans throughout the country in recognizing May 2022 as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders living in Newcastle are a vital and valued part of our town and make our town a better place to live. And whereas Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is an opportunity to recognize AAPI contributions to academia, business, medicine, law, technology, government, science, and social justice, as well as cultural, civic, and economic contributions to our nation and to Newcastle. And whereas we've seen a staggering rise in bullying, discrimination, and hate crimes against the AAPI community during the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas during this month, we should recommit ourselves to promoting equity and acceptance for the AAPI community, stand up against discrimination and hatred, and ensure that Newcastle is a welcoming and inclusive place for all. And whereas the town of Newcastle is proud to recognize and celebrate the many significant cultural, historical, and economic contributions Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders have made in our community and throughout our state and nation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Newcastle does hereby proclaim May 2022 as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the town of Newcastle. Thank you. All right, so now we are going to move to my supervisor's report. I did have one, hold on, I had it on my phone. I had one thing I wanted to make sure to mention. It will be in the supervisor report, but Westchester County is instituting this new On the Horizon campaign where it's going to be public engagement sessions that they're reactivating on the master plan for the Westchester County Airport. Those will be held on Tuesday, May 24th at 6 p.m., Thursday, June 2nd at 6 p.m., and Thursday, June 9th at 6 p.m. It will be in the supervisor's report where those are being held. I also spoke to County Executive Latimer about holding one at the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center in northern Westchester. He agreed. I don't have the date on that yet, but we will be having him come to town as well to host one of these programs. But I definitely urge all residents who are concerned about the impact of the Westchester County Airport on our community specifically, as well as neighboring communities, to please attend these sessions. You can attend them all if you want and make sure your voices are heard. All right, everything else will be in the supervisor's report, and I have our community corner. So I would like to first say happy birthday to McKenna Kelly, who turned 14 years old last week. Her name was on the sign last week on her birthday. Also, happy birthday, you can clap. Happy birthday to Scarlett Bren Silver, who will be turning 11 years old this week. And happy birthday to our epic ambassador, Brady McCarthy. Our very own Super Brady will be turning 20 years old. And when Zoo, your husband, would like us to wish you a very happy birthday, wisely, he did not tell us how old you will be, but we do know that a special resident in town, Chuck Napoli, will be turning 80 years old. And he has spent more than half of his life in Newcastle and has dedicated much of his time to our community. So we wish you the best as you enter your 9th decade. So happy birthday.
Chuck, too.
Yes, happy
birthday,
birthday
everyone.
to all those residents. And now we're gonna move to our town administrator report.
No administrator report tonight.
Okay, great.
Good work, Rob.
Thank you.
I like this new administration.
Last minute fill-in.
All right, so Sabrina, I think you're on. Do you want to give us our annual stormwater report, our MS4 annual stormwater report?
Good evening. I'd be more than happy to present to you our annual stormwater report, but I would be remiss if I did not say joining me in this celebration is Robert Cioli, the town engineer.
Hi, Bob.
Hey guys, how you doing? Good evening.
So I'm going to share my screen if you don't mind, and we're going to run through a little presentation that he and I have prepared for you. So tonight, Bob and I are here to do our annual presentation regarding our municipal separate storm sewer system permit, our annual report. The reporting period of this presentation is covering the reporting period of March 10th, 2021 to March 9th, 2022. We have been annually reporting our progress under our MS4 permit for several years now. As you most recently heard, New York State DEC is looking to promulgate new stormwater regulations. So this report may change in the next couple of years. We're all sitting on eggshells waiting to see what happens there. But for now, we're going to tell you what we've done in the past year regarding our stormwater permit. Let me start out by saying, what is stormwater? So stormwater is exactly what it sounds. It's water from a storm. Any precipitation that falls on the ground and hits what we call an impervious surface, pavement, a roof, sidewalks, it runs off and gets into our waterways, our storm drainage system. That is all called stormwater. Oftentimes, stormwater runs off of an impervious surface and starts to erode the earth. It can erode and deposit sediment in our waterways. It can pick up, as you can see from the picture, oil that may be on the ground, and it can cause a water quality problem. That's why we are required by New York State DEC to control our stormwater discharges. Just to give you some background, this is Newcastle's hydrology. You can see the black line, that is the town border. Within that black line, there's a dark blue line, which signifies the different major drainage basins in the town. And then you see all the light blue areas, which are all the streams and rivers and water bodies in the community. To give you a sense, we are located within 4 major watershed drainage basins. The Croton River Basin, also known as the New York City Watershed, the Lower Hudson River Basin, which includes the Pacantico and the Sawmill River Basin, the Bronx River Basin, which drains to the Kensico Reservoir, and the Upper Long Island Sound Basin. And we share these watersheds with several other municipalities, so they're not completely within our town boundary. When we talk about water quality within our water bodies or our watersheds, there's different problems that DEC has cataloged for different watersheds. The Croton watershed is something called phosphorus restricted. New York State DEC has developed what's called a total maximum daily load, which says that the reservoir cannot handle any more phosphorus than it currently contains. In the upper Long Island Sound, they have a nitrogen TMDL or nitrogen restrictions. Water bodies within our community are listed on something called the State Priority Water Bodies list. And oftentimes, any water body on those lists has to be identified with a problem, whether it be pathogen contamination, high metal content, or nutrient content. We also have water bodies listed on what New York State DEC refers to as their 303D list. The Sawmill River and the Bronx River are two water bodies that flow through our community on those lists. As I said before, right now we are operating under GP 0-15003. This permit has been in effect since May 1st, 2015. It was targeted to expire on April 30th, 2020. As you all know, that was the year of the pandemic, and we are still operating under that permit. We know, based on most recent activity and commenting, that GP 0-22-002 is currently under development. And again, this just reemphasizes our reporting period, March 10th, 2021 to March 9th, 2022. So when we talk about the MS4 program, we're really looking at 6 what they call minimum control measures. And the minimum control measures, the way that New York State DEC has really separated responsibilities under the stormwater program so that we can identify different programmatic areas to implement as an MS4. There are 6 minimum control measures as listed on this slide, which range from public participation and involvement all the way down to managing stormwater operations in our own town, on our own property. And so I'm not going to go through each one because Bob and I are both going to share updating you as to what work we've done under each of these 6 minimum control measures for this reporting period. We're going to start with minimum control measure number 1, public education and outreach. And this is where we work with the community and we educate the public, we educate contractors, we work with developers, landscapers, town board members, planning board members, conservation board members, and we educate people about construction sites and water quality. We provide general stormwater information. We educate them regarding illicit discharge and detection, green infrastructure practices, pet waste management, trash management. There's a whole list on the right-hand side of this slide which lists all of those areas that we educate everybody on the left-hand side in relation to stormwater quality. This year, the strategies that we implemented to qualify under public education and outreach related to our direct mailing. We also have over 5,000 people, 5,670 people on our mailing list, and we email information regarding stormwater and water quality impacts. There were approximately 2,000 public events and presentations with board meetings and other meetings throughout the year where we talked about stormwater issues. We had cable access programming that was ongoing, repeating these meetings. We printed 5,670 pieces of material that contained stormwater information, and we undertook daily inspections regarding stormwater quality management. We made materials available in Town Hall, at the Chapel Library, in the Department of Public Works, and of course on our website. We are required under the MS4 permit to evaluate how we are evaluate and measure our progress in relation to implementing this minimum control measure. And one of the most obvious ways that we know that we're doing a good job in educating the community about stormwater quality is that the number of building permit applications, planning board applications, zoning board applications that include low impact development and better site design elements has been increasing steadily over the years. We know that information and brochures were mailed to folks, they're available for pickup, they disappear when they're in town hall, and we track how many people are visiting our website. Moving on to minimum control measure 2, this is public participation and involvement. How many people do we have actually participating in events that relate to our stormwater management? Every year, and we did it last year, we hold a cleanup event, and I think that just happened last weekend. We have a community hotline, which is active for people to call in problems and things that they see in the community. This past year, we conducted a community planting of 17,600 square feet of area. We had over 600 attendees during the past year at community meetings via Zoom and now in person. And we post our annual report both on our website, and this presentation will play on the cable access channel as well. Again, how do we know that we're implementing this action and making a difference? We know that during planning board meetings, there is more discussion over stormwater and water quality than there ever has been before. So these discussions continue, and during the public hearings, there's a lot of participation by the community. We send out our townwide mailing, and we actually receive calls and people responding to our questionnaire and our stormwater questions in our townwide mailing. And we also have a questionnaire that resides on our website that people take and submit to us. I'm going to turn it over to Bob, who's now going to talk about minimum control measure 3. Bob?
Sabrina, thank you so much. You're a tough act to follow. I'm going to try my best to emulate you. Hopefully people can understand when I'm speaking. And I would like to say good evening to the town supervisor and members of the board, and I will try my best. Minimum control measure 3 was developed basically to control any type of illicit discharge detection and illegal connections in the town, basically so people don't connect their septic systems or any type of basically washing machines to the MS4 drainage system. So basically what the town does is we go around and we do map the outfalls, which are areas of where we feel could be an area where this could discharge, so we can keep track of it. And then once we have any type of proof that the outfalls do have some sort of illicit discharge, we try to track it back to where it emanated from. There were 313 outfalls this year. I believe we did track DPW with help of DPW Sabrina and Kellen, that is, we did, I believe, map 205. We had 2 illicit discharges this year and in the reporting period. One was a septic system failure. One was a heating oil spill. Basically, that was a fuel line in the basement, which was picked up by the sump pump and then transferred into the MS4 system, which is the town drainage system for the town. And thanks to DPW and the fire department did their troubleshooting to find that, so that worked out quite well for that thing. So that was very good. Next slide, please, Marina. Basically, the strategies that we do implement for the illicit discharge and detection, storm sewer set mapping. We have completed all of basically the catch basins throughout town. So we have a general idea where they're located if need be, and we have to track any type of illicit discharge or illegal connection. All this information is stored on GIS, ArcView, so we have it readily available on the pen drive in the town. And also with this, we do need training, and 50% of the staff that works with this does get trained in that as well, and the IDDE as we call it. And again, we did find 2 illicit discharges that were detected and corrected, as I stated before. One was a septic system failure, and the next was the heating oil spill. Next slide, please. Basically, the next minimum control measure is 4. This is probably one of the more important ones because this is the one that regulates and manages site stormwater runoff control during construction. The owners are required to prepare a stormwater pollution plan, it's called the SWIP, in accordance with DEC regulations, which is reviewed by the engineering department. And anytime a building permit comes in, anytime a subdivision comes into the planning board or a major commercial development, the engineer consultant has to prepare those plans, which are reviewed and approved by the town, the engineer, or either the planning board or the town board, or sometimes the zoning board. The owner is required to, as well, during construction, to hire on their own consultant to perform weekly inspections. Now, depending on the site and the severity of it, they do require 2 inspections per week. Case in point, as everyone knows, Toll Brothers just started up. They started phase 1 out there. They do have their consultant to perform 2 weekly inspections, which has to be documented in accordance with the DEC regulations. That's given to us. Not only that, town staff, Terry Rowe, goes out there and takes a look at it and confirms what they're doing is correct. That is a requirement of DEC, and that's what they need to see in our reporting every year that Sabrina and I do. Next slide, please. Minimum control measure 4, construction site. Basically, the strategy is implemented, SWIP inspection review periods are in place, as I just went over. During this year, we had 8 SWIPs reviewed during the reporting period. And we do have procedures to receive public comments in its place. That's basically more towards the public comments that are received when it goes to the town board for stormwater, planning board, and zoning board. Next slide, please. The next minimum control measure is just as important. This is basically post-construction stormwater management. This is where the developers have to implement some basically easement agreements, stormwater management agreements that run in perpetuity with the property, where they do have to maintain the stormwater facilities in perpetuity. These are some examples of what I showed on the slide here. One of them is Brandywine right here. This was built out in 2008, 2010. And also, not only do they have to maintain it in perpetuity, there's a reporting mechanism that they have to submit to the environmental coordinator to make certain that all the plants are maintained throughout the longevity of the system, which helps obviously quite well in the stormwater management of the systems as well. Next slide, please. Post-construction stormwater management, all the strategies implemented. We had actually, that should be 3 active construction sites on the top. All construction sites are routinely inspected, as I said, by the engineering division. Terry performed over 443 inspections and evaluations. All of the SWIPs on the basically major subdivisions and commercial developments have to be kept on site. So basically, if they are located in the DEP territory, which is the Croton Reservoir, DEP, when they do their inspections as well, has access to the SWIP, so it's always on hand. Also, another important thing, the owners are required to submit as-built certifications. I always make them submit as-built certifications and as-built stormwater modeling to make certain that when it's built, it follows and complies with the plan, and it is still designed as approved by the boards. Also, not only that, the agreements have to be approved by the town board, and they have to be recorded in the Westchester County Clerk's Office, so they can be found during title searches and people are aware of these things as they exist. Next slide, please. These are basically evaluating, measuring progress. All construction projects are required to submit SWIPs, which I just went over before, in accordance with the DEC Stormwater Management Design Manual, which is what everyone uses to design these, and they have to update these every so often. And also to stormwater management practices and associated best management practices continue to be in focus regarding project review. And again, these are all looked at quite closely, and these really only apply to subdivisions and commercial development projects. They don't really apply to the permitting for building permits. That would be too onerous on the homeowner to come up with all these agreements. So they do cut the homeowners and the constituents right regarding that. Next slide, please. Minimum control measure 5, we're still on. The 5 post-construction stormwater management practices were inspected this year. Over 200 catch basins were inspected and 185 cleaned. We keep all of this on an Excel spreadsheet. Just in case sometimes if we do get audited, we have all this on record and it's readily available to show to the New York State DEC, which audits the town every so often. Basically, we refer to Chapter 108A, which is the Stormwater Management and Erosion Control section, which was adopted in April 2007. And then 108B is the illicit discharge and illegal connections. Then we have overlay districts, comprehensive plans and zoning and planning board review procedures, and building codes have been used to implement low impact development and better site development elements to reduce flooding, most importantly, and also improve water quality for any of the streams that water does enter. Next slide, please. I'm going to hand this over to Sabrina now because Sabrina is on the executive committee on CEQIC and she can probably explain this better than I can. So it's all yours, Ms. Sabrina.
Sure, thank you, Bob, and well done. One of the areas within our MS4 program relates to what's called stormwater retrofits. And the town board has approved certain agreements and projects related to trying to implement what's called a stormwater retrofit in our community. We are part of what is called the Croton Watershed Corporation, which is an entity that is supported by all of the municipalities, 18 of them, within the Croton Watershed, both in Westchester, Putnam, and Dutchess County. We work together under umbrella compliance to make sure all the municipalities are meeting their required phosphorus reduction number issued by DEC by implementing projects. And each project has a value of a certain amount of phosphorus credit that the corporation receives and the municipalities share in that credit. To date, we've been doing projects for, we're in our, I think, years 6 through 10. We started with years 1 through 5, and we were able to do a total reduction of 534.33 kilograms of phosphorus per year. We are in right now years 6 through 10. We have documented 524.72 kilograms per year. That DEC is looking to give us credit for. So these are all projects like stream bait stabilization, putting catch basin inserts in our stormwater catch basins. Right now, Newcastle has 5 projects that we look to implement throughout the town. We have the Burton Preserve projects, there's 2 of them. We have a project along Shether Road. We have a project up at Chapel Crossing, and we have a project at Court Mill Road. The only project that is actually implemented is at Chapel Crossing. So the other projects are in various phases of design and approval to be implemented. We are hopeful that within the next year we will have Burton Preserve implemented. The last minimum control measure, stormwater management for municipal operations, really falls, a majority of the responsibilities fall within the purview of the Department of Public Works and the Department of Parks. This is where we look at street maintenance, bridge maintenance, winter road maintenance, salt storage, solid waste management, construction and land disturbance that we do on our properties when we do hydrologic habitat modification, our tree plantings, maintaining the right of way, managing our parks and open space, our municipal buildings and our municipal properties, our stormwater system maintenance, our vehicle and fleet maintenance, every aspect of properties that we own and activities that we undertake have to be performed under the guise of managing stormwater quality. This past year, we swept 26 acres of parking lots that were owned by municipal parking lots. We did it 2 times. We swept over 150 miles of streets 1.5 times. We inspected more than 200 and cleaned 185 catch basins, as Bob referred to earlier. We inspected and cleaned 5 post-construction control practices. We applied approximately 1,500 pounds of nitrogen fertilizer to our properties. We do not use phosphorus-laden fertilizers. 50% of municipal employees who are responsible for stormwater management who needed training received it. We know, again, how do we know that we're meeting our goals and our targets under this minimum control measure? Well, reporting procedures for our departments responsible for what we consider good housekeeping practices, we are continually reviewing them, looking at how can we better maintain our town facilities and account for how we are maintaining our facilities. We are working to retrofit our record keeping and our reporting procedures regarding maintenance of various stormwater system components. And we're looking right now, we have great mapping that we have acquired over the years of our systems. We're looking at verifying that infrastructure today and hardening that infrastructure as part of our stormwater responsibilities. Because we are in the New York City watershed, we have what's called additional watershed improvement strategies that the town has to implement. We are required to provide education information regarding phosphorus and nitrogen. We also have to have 100% of our conveyance system mapped and additional features describing that system contained in our mapping software. We need to undertake stormwater system conveyance system inspection and put together a plan to make sure it is maintained and expanded as time goes on. We have a program that we use to track on-site wastewater treatment systems, septic systems, and we work to try and make sure that they are inspected and maintained by private property owners. We have been working with Westchester County for many years to define and capture that data. We have a post-construction stormwater program in place, and as I explained earlier, we're in the second 5-year permit process, years 6 through 10, with the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation for our stormwater retrofit program. So if you have any questions, Bob and I are here to answer any questions you might have, and for the public, if you'd like more information on the program, you can contact the development department or check out mynewcastle.org, where there's a lot of information regarding stormwater. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up to questions if you have any.
I actually have a question, Sabrina. You mentioned that 50% of employees who needed training received training. I'm curious, why is that 50%, not 100%?
Because during the past year, not all staff has been present at all times to receive training. We've had staff turnover where we don't necessarily capture everybody, but this year we know that at least 50% of staff were trained. Does that answer your question?
It certainly answers the question. As long as I'm not knowledgeable enough to know if that's adequate. I assume that it is.
It is adequate. You know, we try and get 100% training, but again, the training happens in-house for those who need it. If you know, as they've been trained over time. You know, if you were trained last year, you don't necessarily need to be retrained this year to do the job that you're doing that relates to stormwater management. And we also rely on other agencies to do training for us. And if they don't hold the training, then we can't be trained.
Understood. So some of them don't just need to be retrained because they've been trained previously.
Correct.
Understood.
Well, I just wanna say that it is a tremendous and important undertaking, and so I just wanna say kudos to you and to all the staff for doing this tremendous work, you know, continually. I'm curious on what the state DEP finds when they come and they do their inspection and audits and what sorts of things they look at. I mean, how can you possibly track an entire town? And, you know, I just wonder if they make recommendations, what sorts of things that they ask us to do. If it's possible to answer that question.
It
Well, actually-
very possible.
Actually, yes, we were audited twice, I believe.
Yes, we
And I think we passed with flying colors. We're like well ahead of the curve on this town because we keep meticulous files on everything that we do. And actually, DEC is the one that audits us. Not
It
DEP.
is a day like no other where we sit in the conference room and we are constantly pulling out boxes of files. You know, the state is kind enough to send us a form as to what they will be looking for, and we prepare disk drives and computer, you know, they dig into our computer filing systems to make sure we have all the data. It is a gruesome process that is very much like an audit. And it involves all of the departments that are involved in this program. And we sit in the conference room with the DEC representative and they have a a clipboard with their check marks. And we go through everything.
Well, we've had these laws since 2007, 15 years, I believe, and we've been audited twice, I believe. We've done quite well, very meticulous records. We run a tight ship in this town.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, but it sounds like very much like a data check. Do they ever go out on the field?
Yeah, we take them out on the field when they come visit. It's not a one-day audit. A lot of times, they'll come in for one day to kind of sit down and just go through all the paper and the computer systems, and then we'll take them out in the field and we'll show them.
Okay, well, sounds great. Thank you. Yeah.
They can certainly invite you, Vicky, if you'd like
Chris?
to join on the next audit.
I'd be thrilled. Yes, you can come too.
Ooh, I'm busy.
You guys need more
Alrighty.
Yeah.
So you're very welcome. Bob
Thank
and
you,
I
Sabrina.
enjoyed,
Thank you, Bob.
sharing this with you, and all of this information will be posted on the website.
Sabrina, before you go, do you have any indication when we're gonna hear back about the proposed requirements and what they're hopefully
do
gonna
not.
settle on much less? Okay,
I do not, I don't know.
alright, okay. Well, thank you and Bob very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Really
all.
appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Good night.
Okay, good night.
Good night, thank you.
Very entertaining.
Alright, well, good, I'm glad you're still awake, John. Any public comment or new business?
Unofficially, we don't have to wear hula hoops, right? Or hula skirts during the Asian situation.
No.
You know the term, good.
Alright, so that being said, we're gonna move to the resolutions. I'm sorry?
Anybody just mention?
Oh, is there anyone online who has any public comment, new business? Alright. Hearing none. We're gonna move to the resolutions, before we go to the consent agenda items, is there anything that anyone would like to remove from that? Okay, so Chris, do you have them in front of you? You wanna start?
Sure. I move to adopt the consent agenda as submitted, consisting of the following. Adoption of minutes April, authorization to accept CHIPS, PAVE New York, and EWR funds 2022 to 2023. Authorization to accept service agreement for primary disinfection system MWTP. Authorization to accept ozone upgrade for primary disinfection system MWTP. Resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 trucks from Navistar Inc. Resolution to reject all bids received for the rental of an 8-station air-conditioned restroom trailer and award contract to Call Ahead. Authorization to use town property Girl Scouts Troop 2739. And authorization to approve SRO agreement.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Alright, why don't you do that whole page, Chris?
Fair enough. I move to approve the payment of claims in the amount of $3,650,432.47 listed on the summary pre-check writing report and detailed voucher detail report, both dated May 6, 2022. Checks will be cut and mailed to each claimant listed on Wednesday, May 11th, 2022.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of Patrick O'Mara as a recipient of the Mike Martis Summer Internship Program at the Millwood Water Treatment Plant at the hourly rate of $15 per hour, effective May 30, 2022 through August 2022.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let me do the next page.
I move to authorize the hiring of Luke McHugh as a recipient of the Mike Martis Summer Internship Program at the Millwood Water Treatment Plant at the hourly rate of $15 per hour, effective May 23, 2022 through August 1st, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of Andrew Brown for the position of seasonal laborer 0425-05 within the Department of Public Works Highway Unit for a period of up to 12 weeks at the hourly rate of $15 per hour, effective May 16, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of Josh Munoz to the position of seasonal laborer 0425-05 within the Recreation and Parks Department for a period of up to 12 weeks at the hourly rate of $15 per hour, effective May 16, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I move to authorize the hiring of Chris Mellis to the position of seasonal laborer 0425-05 within the Recreation and Parks Department for a period of up to 12 weeks at the hourly rate of $16.50 per hour, effective May 16, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's that. Move to adjourn.
Jeremy, do you wanna move to adjourn us?
Take us home. I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank
Thank
you
you,
everyone,
Thank
good
you.
night.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Terry.
Bob. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.